I like how we're all kind of just recovering from the holidays. We're getting back into work mode now because that was a lot. I feel like I need to recover and get back into the mode, and I'm into it now.
Gotta get in gear.
Now we're here because the Major's here.
Episode 5, Behind the Star.
Already 5?
Starring Major Rick Anglin. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
He is over Judicial Services, which covers Warrants Division, Court Services Division, and the Bay County Jail. If that wasn't enough, you got the other things going on at the same time. But today we're going to focus on the Bay County Jail. Because a lot of people don't even know, they think jail, prison, interchangeable words, and they're not. It's completely different. Right. Tell us the difference.
Well, but the short version of that is the jail, that's if somebody gets arrested, that's where they're going to go, is to a jail. Jail is pre-sentence, and if somebody gets convicted of what they're charged with, then they'll go off to prison. That's a state prison or federal prison, depending on what the charges are.
Like a life sentence would be in a prison. It's not going to be in a jail.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Perfect, we're done. Case closed. No. Let's go home.
There's a lot of operational things that are different between prisons and jails, but we probably don't have time to discuss all that today.
We barely have time to talk about the jail because that place in itself is a city. I mean, it's got its own portions. It's got its own kitchen. It's got its own hospital wing. It's got its own, yard that you go work out in. I mean, it's just living quarters. It's huge. I didn't realize how big it was.
The laundry.
Because as a as a deputy, when you take in somebody who you just arrested, you just go into the Sally Port and you go into intake, and that's pretty much it. I didn't realize until you took me around just how big it really is.
So what happens to that person when Deputy Navarro, for example, brings that person into booking? He says they're yours, and then he goes back out on the road.
Well, describing it as a city, that is a good description because of everything that goes on inside of there. It's all kind of self-contained. The jail was about 275,000 square feet under roof. So that is
a mall. It's like a big mall.
That's right. It's comparable to a mall.
That's too big.
That's right. But it's a mall where we have to maintain security. Yeah. People don't get to go home if you get booked into the jail. There is a lot going on, and you asked the question about what happens to them when they come in. One of the first things that happens when a deputy drops them off is medical standing right there in intake, and we want medical laying eyes on everybody who gets booked into the jail immediately, just to make sure that nothing's going on, that their vitals are good, there's no medical emergency issues going on, and we'll do a quick assessment within the first few minutes, and then once they start the booking process and at some point within an hour or so, then they'll get a full medical workup.
Now, one thing I noticed when I was in there is that you had your staff, your maintenance staff, constantly working. I was actually really impressed about that because they always had something to do, and they were always maintaining a standard that you have when it comes to maintaining that jail and keeping it in as good a shape as it is.
Yes, we actually have 5 full-time maintenance positions, and we actually have 1 vacancy just in case there's someone out there that's looking for a job.
A job with a lot of security because there is never a shortage of things to fix.
That's right.
Because you cannot say, oh, the toilet stopped up. Okay, we'll get to it tomorrow. No, it's got to be unstopped.
That's
Plumbing's
right.
got to be taken care of. The kitchen's got to be taken care of. Everything.
And our maintenance guys, they specialize too. We have one guy his specialty is as an electrician.
Thank goodness. How many air conditioning units?
We have about 57 air conditioning units on top of the jail.
Jeez.
Now that's not what most people would be. It's not like a house air conditioning unit or a residential. These are big 5, 10, 15-ton units.
Again, I'm thinking of the mall where these huge, everything is bigger and more complicated, and you're trying to keep it running.
And you can just imagine a facility that size, how many showers and toilets and sinks and
And then you got the kitchen facilities with the ovens and the plumbing in there and the cleanup that's got to take place. It's major.
Right. So these 5 guys, we always have somebody on call. It's 24/7, and they have to keep things going.
So there's actually a difference between, your staff, your maintenance staff, your civilian staff, and your detention deputies as well. The detention deputies are completely different to where they actually have to go through academy training and continue their training and certifications as well.
That's right. There's about a 3.5 month course through Gulf Coast College, State College, that our detention deputies have to get and pass the state test and be certified. Once they get that, then they can go anywhere in the state of Florida and work in any kind of a correctional facility.
It's quite a career.
It is, yeah, and it's a tough job. Not everybody can do it. It takes somebody who can think quick on their feet. They have to be able to react quickly and change hats quickly, because one moment you're a detention deputy and you may be doing count that day and you have a medical emergency going on down the hall, and you got to respond that you may be the first one there, and you're doing CPR. So you have to be a med tech. You need to be a counselor. Obviously you have to be a deputy. It takes somebody with good verbal skills and somebody who can communicate well.
Read people. I'm thinking can read people.
That's right.
Can look at someone who is in the pod, let's say, or going down one of the hallways, and there's a problem here.
Yeah.
They can tell by their body language or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
They are doing a vital job. I don't know that the majority of our population realizes how vital that job is, because most people don't go to the jail. They don't really know a whole lot of people that have been to the jail, and not aware of what's constantly working.
That's right.
There. And we're very, very appreciative of our detention deputies. But we also have non-sworn positions there.
Yeah. About half of our staff would fall into that category.
What's the number of staff that you have?
We have about full-time positions. We have about 230 positions at the jail. About half of those are detention deputies, and the other half will fall into that category of maintenance, medical, administration. We just mental health. With just a lot of different things going on, and a lot of opportunities for people who want to pursue
a career,
a career
with retirement and benefits. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. State retirement and
sure.
Now, speaking of opportunities, when an inmate gets booked in, they have an opportunity. Sometimes it's forced opportunity, but to go into the Lifeline Program. Which there's 2 different kinds as far as I understand. There's the Canine Rescue Program for the females and then the Resilience Program for the males, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Now, the Resilience Program is awesome because they're out in the field and they're doing jumping jacks and push-ups and running laps, and then there's this cool Navy SEAL dude that's like, he's got a megaphone and he's like, do more push-ups, and they're like, okay, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, the Lifeline Program it's the big program that's offered for males and females. It's a 120-day program. It's a substance abuse program, and they do a wonderful job in there. We have so many inmates that have come through that program that don't come back to jail.
They have a really low recidivism rate.
Much lower than the national average. Right. Recently, they've been running around 50% recidivism, which some people may look at that and go, "Oh gosh, half of them are coming back." Well, for this population, these are folks that have had a long history of substance abuse,
right?
And most of them have been in and out of the jail a lot. And when they go through the program, if you can have where half of them don't come back,
that's pretty good.
That's awesome. That's really good compared to the average.
If they want to be in this program, or a family member, if they have a family member that's arrested and has addiction issues, what do they have to do to get that person in the program? Or if the person wants to do it, how do they get it assigned to that program?
Yeah, normally that's a request through their attorney. An attorney would present that to a judge. And if the judge looks at everything and agrees that this would be appropriate based upon history and what's going on, what the offense was.
Sure.
Not everybody's going to get that opportunity, depending on.
Well, if they're not healthy enough to do the physical fitness portion.
Well, that's
right?
for the resilience part of it.
Oh, okay.
That's only the resilience.
But they can still do the Lifeline without going
right.
through that.
And only certain ones within the Lifeline program get to do resilience, and certain ones in the Lifeline on the female side get to be handlers for the canine and trainers, for canine.
There's so many different types of Lifeline programs, but the goal is simple, and it's only one goal, and that's to change the mindset for people who have these addiction problems, have these problems of getting out and just the cycle repeating itself where they come back in.
That's correct. The resilience program does a great job of changing that mindset, and that's really what Dr. Ed Najjar.
It's more than just getting physically fit. They're
yes,
not
it
out
is.
there
Yes.
just to look toned and build muscle.
Oh no, that's
There are greater purposes.
yes. He focuses heavily on the emotional aspect, the mental aspect, the spiritual. He focuses on, and kind of rewires the way they've been thinking in the past,
Sure.
and the physical is a big part of it because it makes them feel good about themselves. They see that actually makes you feel better.
Yes.
And you can actually
Achieve.
you can, and you can live life without substances, without
Right.
substance abuse.
Right.
Plus, when you're physically exhausted, you don't really want to push back at all. You
That's
just want to take a nap.
That may be part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the ladies get to help the dogs, which we love that program.
Yes,
that's a win-win.
That's certainly one of my favorite programs. The rescue dog program. We call it the Canine Rescue. These are dogs that Miss Melton, who runs that program, she goes to the local shelters and she will handpick these canines that are appropriate for the program. These
Sure.
are the dogs that are not likely to bite, non-aggressive type dogs that will be great for adopting out. Once they're trained,
Yes.
once they get this basic obedience training, and it depends. Normally, it's about 8 weeks to do that, but they live right there in the dorm with the inmates, and they're assigned to them, and they take care of them, and they train them, they take them outside, the potty breaks, feeding, everything,
And then they have a graduation
and
once
then-
the dog has passed all the tests, I guess.
right.
of
Once
Obedience.
they reach that level, then we do have a formal graduation. And normally, what we try to do is have the new owners, whoever's adopting
Right.
the animal.
And sometimes we put those dogs on our Facebook page that are available
Yes,
for
that's right.
adoption.
We
They
do.
have completed the program and they're now available, and people can see and reach out to Ms. Melton and see about being considered as a new forever
And I'm pretty
home.
sure that to date, we've been doing this now for, I've lost track of time, but probably
a long time, yeah.
9 years. We had to postpone for a little while during COVID and after the hurricane, but I don't think we've ever had a dog that wasn't adopted out.
No. That's
It's
wonderful.
literally a win-win situation, as you put it, because you have the inmates training the dogs are learning so they can go get adopted. The inmates are learning responsibilities, and again breaking that cycle. It's just an amazing program. And one of the other programs that you have, the faith-based programs too, that's a whole other thing in itself.
Yes, it is. We actually have on the male side, we have a whole dormitory designed for the faith-based program. All the inmates in that program volunteer to be in there. They want to be in there. And of course, we offer similar services for the females. We have a full-time chaplain who manages those programs, but he also manages about 50 volunteers from the community that help us in these programs.
That's a lot of people.
And that's not just faith-based, but also NAAA. We have volunteers that come in and do that. But the volunteers are just, it's a lot of great people. It's people that are passionate, they're committed, and they really, want to make a difference in somebody's life. And oftentimes the volunteers that we have, quite a few of them actually have been in the jail as inmates themselves in the past.
That's amazing. That's a great
wonderful.
fact. Yeah.
Yes. And
Well, they can speak from a position of knowing, and then the inmates that are in there now,
yep.
are more inspired. You
Yes.
know what I'm going through, and you look where you are now.
Right. Yeah. Some of the volunteers are, they were in jail, went through rough times in their past, and they got their life back on track. They're out. They're successful in their
They're
life
holding down
now.
Jobs,
Yes.
have a
yes.
family sometimes.
And they actually have something to share. So they come in and
That's awesome.
they help these guys, show them the path.
Sure. Another one of the challenges in a jail is the mental health issues.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
inmates with mental health or conditions that require medication and treatment while they're in there. So
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about that, because that's a challenge probably everywhere.
Yes, yeah. Mental health is probably one of the biggest challenges we have. I mean, that ranks right up there with maintaining security of the facility. Mental health is every day. It is a huge challenge, simply because of the volume. There's such a volume of people with mental illness in our community, and oftentimes they wind up in jail because of the mental illness.
Right.
There's just simply not enough services in the community.
Right.
And so what happens is the jail becomes the default mental health facility.
Yeah.
And about 15% of our population is on some kind of psych meds. So, I mean, you think about that. I mean, we run a population of, we average about 1,200 inmates
Yeah.
normally throughout the year. 15% of that, I mean, that's a lot of people.
That
in
you've
there
got to segregate, correct?
Well, we don't segregate all of them. Oftentimes, their mental illness can be managed and then still be in population because it may be mild symptoms, something that can be managed just like you would if they were in the community. But then we certainly have some that we have a couple of special units. One for what we call behavior observation. That's for those who have severe mental illness that it just makes it difficult for them to function in population. It makes it tough to keep them from being
Victimized.
or they may victimize somebody if they have violent tendencies.
Right.
So we have a unit specially designed for that, to where our guys, our detention deputies that manage that, and our mental health that manages that, they know them, and they know how to allow them to have recreation time and
Sure.
still and while treating them with medicines and trying to get them more stable. And then we have another unit that's designed for suicide precaution, and that's certainly a challenge. The first 2 weeks inside of a jail is the most dangerous time for suicide prevention for
Sure.
us. That's people coming in, they're in crisis mode. Things have happened, and they have to be watched. Sometimes, some people have to be watched very, very closely, depending on what our medical assessment determines, and our mental health assessment determines.
It's definitely a topic that people don't want to talk about. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people, and the fact that you guys have to face it head on and do it with such, professionalism goes and says worlds about you and your staff. We could talk for hours about this. Again, it's a small city. We can go through every single little department and talk about it, especially the laundry department. I want to know how you wash all those clothes. But unfortunately,
How
we
you cook
cannot.
all those meals?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
That's a
that
lot
goes
of
into
meals.
this. The dogs. There's so many dogs. The search dogs. The
Right,
bloodhounds.
because you have
That's
dogs
right.
working for you,
Yeah.
not just dogs being rescued. So there's
Yes, that's right.
specialty teams that the
Yeah.
detention deputies
Yeah.
do. One thing I have to say, and I think Jake agrees, is that when we have toured the facility, we are just so impressed with your staff, their positive attitude, their recognition of the importance of the job.
Yes.
They know what they do, and they want to do it professionally. And that's just amazing. The facility's clean. It's just, well done.
We're
Well
very
done.
fortunate. We have a lot of great staff that are committed. They're passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And they should be proud of what they do, because
should.
they are making a difference.
They are in the community, for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us on episode 5 of Behind the
Right,
Star.
Behind the
and
Star.
now we can
Thank you.
continue to relax and decompress from the holiday season. So thank
Until
you for
this
joining
coming
us.
weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you
on
for
Behind
having
the
me.
Star.
I appreciate it.